Welcome back everyone to Blackthornprod. I'm Noah. So it's now 2019, a whole new year awaits us. Without a doubt, 2018 was my most creative and active year in my life so far. I'm 18 years old now, and I've always loved drawing characters and making games. Since I was a small boy, I remember making paper card games, or draw large battle scenes full of tiny characters, or make up my own Dungeons and Dragons adventures with my brother. Making up stories and worlds has always been a huge part of my life, and I'm so glad to now be doing creative things full time. No more school, no 9-to-5 job. I can focus all my attention on creating videos and making games, and that's awesome. And so in this video, I wanted to talk about how I started making games, in the hopes that my story will inspire you to either pursue your own passion or start doing so in this new year. As I said, I've always been drawing. They weren't that good, but people around me were encouraging, which I believe pushed me to continue making art. I was also lucky enough to be introduced to Dungeons and Dragons, Magic the Gathering, and video games from a very early age, which definitely inspires me and made me want to make my own worlds and stories. Of course, up until I was 13, everything I did was on paper. I would make loads of card games, adventures, and strategy games with a pencil and a sketchbook. I didn't care what others would think of my work, except perhaps my brother whom I playtested all my creations with. I just created because I enjoyed it. I didn't need any motivation to do so. There was no money or fame involved. It was just, I'm going to make a card game this afternoon. That'll be fun. And that's a mindset I'm trying to maintain to this day. Creating for the simple joy of creating, not because of other rewards such as likes or views. When I was about 12, I was obsessed with Skyrim and its dangerous and mysterious open world. I loved the large collection of monsters, weapons, and dungeons one could come across. I too wanted to make my own maps full of interesting locations to explore and dragons to vanquish. And so I created the world of Blackthorn. I drew a map, I dreamed up a bestiary, and began writing a book about this world, which was a mix of Skyrim, The Witcher, and Harry Potter, where young children would go to a school and learn how to hunt monsters and play a sport that resembled Quidditch, but was played on the backs of dragons. I had a great time doing all this. So when I was 13, my dad bought me my first PC. On it I played cool strategy games like Age of Empires, and enjoyed the rich, atmospheric world of Baldur's Gate. I also installed the free student version of 3ds Max, which was the reason my dad got me the computer in the first place, so I could learn how to bring my ideas to life digitally and share what I make with more people than just family and friends. 3ds Max is basically an awesome but pretty complex software that lets people create 3D models, texture characters and environments, animate them, make particle effects, and lots more. It's used in the movie and game industry and is a very robust and complex tool. It took me some time to really get into it. It was a bit daunting, full of buttons and symbols I was scared to touch in case I would accidentally destroy the small scene I had painstakingly set up. Then my dad got me a subscription to Digital Tutors, which is an enormous video library full of tutorials on how to make movies and games. So there was obviously a bunch of courses on 3ds Max, but also Unity, drawing, animation, painting, and more. This really made me fall in love with digital art, and I spent a good year watching videos from their large collection, learning how to sculpt characters in Mudbox and animate with Autodesk Maya. But I was sort of stuck in what some might call the tutorial purgatory. All I really did at that point was copy what my teachers did. I wouldn't really experiment on my own, and I mostly jumped from one beginner course to the next. And then when I was about 14, my creativity and passion for digital art slowly dwindled. School was becoming more and more taxing, with lots of homework and exams, and I was getting a bit discouraged by the fact that I felt like I wasn't really progressing that much. That all I did was watch tutorials, and as soon as I was on my own, without someone telling me what to do or click, I was lost and technically incapable of bringing my ideas to life. And more than a year passed where I created very little. I focused on dreadfully boring schoolwork. I tried to survive school corridors, classrooms, and playgrounds full of bullies and angry teachers. And so I escaped this new, for me stressful and dangerous world through video games, namely Clash of Clans and later Hearthstone, Blizzard's crazy card game. From 13 years old to mid-15, I would play games and get really passionate about them. I would search up village layouts for Clash of Clans and make to-do lists of what I wanted to upgrade in my fantasy village and when. I even made my own clans, which was like handling a mini community. My brother was also a huge fan of the games I was playing, so we endlessly talked together about new expansions and what they might hold, whose village was better and what were great strategies to get lots of loot. Same for Hearthstone, I would stay up until midnight if need be to wait until my parents went to bed to grab the iPad to play the game, and then do so up until 2 in the morning, with an early 6 AM wake up the next day for school. But a sort of guilt was settling in. I began to feel guilty for playing hours and hours on end, neglecting all these creative softwares I was once so passionate about, neglecting my drawing books and pencils and wacky game and story ideas. I could also feel the slight disappointment around me, the wasted potential, the murmurs that I was addicted to Hearthstone, everything taking second place in my hungry pursuit to reach that legend rank. After my brother stopped playing and my parents seriously controlled my playtime, the shift happened, and on the summer of 2015, I opened up 3ds Max again and began working on what I knew gave me the most happiness: creating worlds, characters, and stories. I made a blog with WordPress which I wrote in every week for several months, talking about what I was making, showing off the drawings I did, 3D models I created, and more. I called this blog Blackthornprod, after the world I created when I was 10. I made a few short 3D movies with my brother, one featuring an alien called Big Brainy Bob, another with a red fire imp, and here's Mr. Jinx, a mad scientist. I felt great. I wasn't only watching tutorials, I was making my own unique things. What a huge boost to my confidence, and it was also a lot more fun. At this point though, I was divided between wanting to make games or make animated movies. So for some time I tried doing both, taking my first real steps into the world of game creation with Construct 2, a really cool game engine that lets devs make 2D games with no code. It's a pure drag and drop sort of interface, which was perfect for someone like me who at the time wanted nothing to do with real hardcore programming. Here's a screenshot of my first game. And guess what? I also started a YouTube channel at this point, named after my blog, so Blackthornprod. On it I uploaded plenty tutorials I would eventually end up removing, all about making characters in Maya, as well as videos with a few of my animations. Hardly anyone watched those, and with reason, they were really bad. Hello everybody, this is Blackthornprod, ready for our third part tutorial on Maya Fur. But the most important was that I enjoyed the process. After watching all these tutorials and learning from so many great people, it felt great making my own video content. Plus, trying to teach stuff helped me learn a lot too. I must have made about 30 videos, from a course on how to model in Maya to sculpting a volcano in Mudbox. Just before turning 16, I took my very first steps inside of Unity, and I must admit, it was far from love at first sight. Yeah, I liked the actual Unity interface. It felt quite simple after having spent years handling complex beasts like Maya and 3ds Max. But oh boy, needing to program to be able to make a working game was a daunting, scary challenge. My first attempt at making a game looked something like this: Pumpkin Dash, a weird Halloween 3D game where you would control a pumpkin running around a maze collecting weird glowing orbs. And it was a buggy mess that I ended up not even finishing. I vividly remember spending 2 whole days trying to get my character transitioning from an idle animation to a run animation. It was frustrating and not very fun. But then I discovered Bracky's YouTube channel and Sebastian Lag's collection of awesome tutorials, as well as Udemy, which was filled with great courses on Unity and programming in C#. And thanks to these courses and teachers and videos, I was able to get comfortable with Unity and understand coding a bit better. I made a breakout style game called Dungeon Breaker. I also created Laser Defender, then Hero's Destination, which was my first original project about controlling a wizard that had to exit a level in a few seconds. Making it was such fun. But again, I was divided between movies and games. I spent as much time learning Unity as I did trying to make 3D models and animations. So at one point I sat down and asked myself, what do I like doing most? Playing games or watching 3D animated movies? The answer was definitely games. Memories of defeating a dragon in Skyrim or winning a clan war in Clash of Clans dancing before my eyes. So I would focus on games, and I've really not looked back since. Game dev is so fulfilling, and the feeling I get when I see others play my creations is just magical and always exciting. When I was 16 and a half, I began writing in a new blog, which sadly isn't accessible anymore. In it, I wrote huge articles about what I was making, my struggle learning how to code, and plans for the future. It was also at this point that I got my drawing tablet and Photoshop. I was no longer restricted to modeling and 3D game creation. I could now make 2D artwork that wasn't pixel art, and that was awesome. I drew so much with my new tablets, just loving the fact that I had all the pens, erasers, and colors in the world at my disposal. With it, I made loads of concept art for what was going to be a large, atmospheric survival game called Zombomb. I then made loads of models for that game and animations, and well, I quit that project because it was a bit too ambitious. And that was just the first of many games I would start and quit, due to lack of motivation or technical obstacles. A few months later though, in October of 2016, I brought to life from A to Z the first game I would really be proud of, this time with my brother Liam, Midnight Fire. We did this during the Halloween school break, me as the artist and animator, and him as the coder, being a lot better than me thanks to his passion for web development. It felt so great finishing a game again, and I was really happy with the cute 3D models and environment. I then remember posting it on the CG Society forums, a cool community full of digital artists, and getting lots of positive feedback. And that was just so motivating. At that point, me and my bro began working straight away on our second game, Color Shooter, and that was even better than our first. I really felt like we were making so much progress. However, a little too confident from our successes, we boldly set out to make a multiplayer shooter-like game, which with hindsight was ridiculous. But we tried and tried some more, and a few months passed where we just created bits and bobs of crap. We, or at least I, felt we were no longer progressing, and game dev was becoming a frustrating hobby again of roadblocks and technical barriers. My brother sort of lost his passion for game dev at that point, so I was left without a coder. And by then I felt like I had forgotten all I'd previously learned about C#, but I still wanted to make games. I could still remember that feeling of finishing something and hearing other people's thoughts on what I had made, and the fulfillment and joy of bringing a world to life and creating monsters and balancing their stats and making levels and art. It was too good, I couldn't stop. So I told myself, if others can code, there's no reason why I can't too. If others have made amazing games, then why can't I? I was almost 17 at this point. It's at a time when people were seriously asking what the heck I wanted to do in the future, what studies I wanted to pursue, and what was my idea of a dream job. And all I could think about was, I want to make games, I love doing this, I'm going to do all I can to be allowed to continue doing this, and not as a little side thing, but full time. So with that mindset, I was able to bring another game to life, Raining Apocalypse. I did all the programming, all the art, everything except the music. I was so proud of what I had achieved, and feeling so elated by what I was doing, I made more and more games, most of which can be played on my itch.io page, and I have a whole video series on my channel where I talk about each game and how I made it in more detail. It was only during the summer of 2017 that I decided I would like more people to play my games than just family and friends. At that point I had made almost a dozen small games, and nobody knew about them, so I started the Blackthornprod YouTube channel all over again. I deleted my previous videos about modeling in Maya and my quirky animations, and began uploading every week tutorials on Unity, drawing, did devlogs and more. Making tutorials not only helped me learn game dev myself, but building a community and getting people commenting on my art, games and teaching style was, to put it lightly, magical. By December 2017, so roughly 1 year ago, I had 500 subscribers and I felt so good. I also took part in my first game jam at that point, Let 'em Die 40, and it was then that I really discovered this whole community of like-minded people, all striving to bring their ideas to life. I reached 1,000 subscribers in January 2018 and started my own Discord server. And well, I guess you more or less know my story from here. I made videos every week, every day, falling a bit more in love with the game creation and this community. I finished high school in July, which was a huge relief, took part in dozens of other game jams and even hosted my own, worked on a game for 3 whole months called The Fire of Belief, launched a Udemy course with my brother in November which felt fantastic, and even talked to a legendary game creator Edmund McMillan, the guy behind the Binding of Isaac, for example. It's been an amazing journey so far. Of course, there was a lot of struggle and tough moments during this year, like suffering burnouts due to spending dozens of hours in front of a screen, and realizing that taking breaks is necessary, or having my Discord server completely hacked with all members banned 7 months ago, or losing sight of what really matters and spending hours fixating over stats, likes and views. But despite that, 2018 was an amazing year, and I want to make 2019 even better. I want to work on a larger game project, release another Udemy course, and continue making great YouTube content. I wrote a detailed blog post over on Patreon about my plans and ideas for 2019. The link to check that out is in the description if you're interested. Now, I wish you the best of luck on your own game dev journey and hope you'll continue following me on mine. And thank you to these amazing people who support me and my content financially via Patreon. A special thank you to Joseph, your brother, and Couch Ferret. Okay, I'll see you soon for more game dev related content. Cheers!